Okay, well, welcome everyone to the next episode of the Tru-Turf Super Series. Very pleased to be joined today by Corey Finn, who's the Cluster Director of Agronomy over with Viya Golf in Abu Dhabi. Corey, welcome along.
Thanks very much for the invite. I must have done something right.
You've done a lot of things right. You've been the man of the moment, I suppose, with a whole range of things recently with hosting the Abu Dhabi the Championship at the end of the 2024 DP World Tour season. So that certainly got you quite a few accolades for you and the team, not alone the golf course. So it's our pleasure to have you along, and once again, a very good supporter of our products as well. So we thank you very much for that.
Yeah, awesome to be here.
Yeah. So you've in Abu Dhabi now, obviously with Yas Links, Yas Acres, say at Beach as well. But tell us a little bit about what started you on the path to where you are now.
Well, I'm a very proud New Zealander. So obviously we're famous for inventing the pavlova and the horse farlap. But I'm from the deep south of New Zealand. I started there as an apprentice greenkeeper when I was 17. Long time ago now, 22 years ago, I guess, or so. I was obviously pretty green, but a passionate golfer, and at the time it was an opportunity to leave high school, so I wasn't doing much there. And admittedly, my first year I didn't enjoy it, and thought I wasn't into it. But then luckily, the old man made me stick at it, and then managed to get an opportunity to go to America. A lot of young greenkeepers to do the Ohio State, so I managed to do the 18 months over there, and that really opened my eyes to, I guess, now what's become my passion and love is greenkeeping, more so than playing golf. So, did my apprenticeship there and then moved back home for a number of years working at a private golf course, the Michael Hill Jules golf course in Queenstown. However, after being in America, was pretty keen to move back overseas. So I did a number of posts. I went to Ireland and did a reconstruction, and then I guess I got my first big break with an Australian superintendent called Dave Cassidy, who was at the time managing Viya Golf Club, so which was the proud host, or still is the proud host of the Qatar Masters. And I guess I got my first big assistant role, or that was my first assistant role back in 2012. So I did 5 years there at Viya Golf Club, working under Dave Cassidy, and then Robin Dudson, who's also was a superintendent in Australia, and now he's moved into, I guess, the dark side of sales. But are both good friends of mine, and have helped me a lot in my career. And then I took my first supers role at the Red Bull Island golf course, Lathala. I did that for 12 months. Living on a private island is not what it's cracked up to be. So 12 months was enough, and then an opportunity to come back up to actually take a sideways step and move back into an assistant role at Sadia Beach Golf Club. And I've been now the last 8 years in Abu Dhabi. Luckily, I've had another Australian superintendent, Clinton Southorn at the time, who helped me, I guess, develop my career. And admittedly, probably my first superintendent's role might have been a bit early, and then came here as the assistant at Sadia for 4 years until I took over Yas Links as the golf course manager. And then from there, I took over from Clinton when he moved to Tru Corporate, and as the Cluster Director of Agronomy, looking after Sadia Beach Golf Club, Yas Links, and our newest one, which opened 3 years ago, which is Yas Acres Golf and Country Club. So I guess that's a quick brief on my story and where we're at. And it's been a good move for me, hence why I've been here in Abu Dhabi so long. But, multiple tournaments, whether Sadia had hosted the Ali Ladies for a start, and other prestigious events like the Gary Player International. And then more recently at Sadia, we've had Challenge Tour twice. And then Yas Links was obviously famous for being the proud host of the Abu Dhabi HSBC Championship, which we've held for the last 3 years with, all the top guys are there. So, it's been a good journey so far, and something that
Absolutely.
Obviously pretty proud of, but I've also had a lot of help along the way to get where I am today. We're busy here in Abu Dhabi, as you've seen last year when you called in and gave us a hand.
Yeah, no, it was a great great opportunity for me to be there and see the preparation that you guys go through for a tournament, and we'll touch a little bit on that later on. But it's been a wonderful journey for you, and you should be very proud of what you've done and what you've achieved over the span. And as we say, you're not quite old yet; you're still under 40, so you've got a long way to go, which is great. And as I think as every good New Zealander who does well, whilst you try to talk about the Pavlova and Far Lap, we'll take you as an Australian if you continue great success. Success. Russell Crowe, Mel Gibson, we take them all. So
yeah, that's for sure. But I mean, Australia is a smaller brother. We're obviously the capital of the South Pacific. So anyway. Yeah, we're not criminals anyway.
You send them all across to us anyway.
No.
So it's one. You mentioned the Ohio State program there as a start, and that I suppose really focused your attention then on a career. And we've spoken to a number of people who've been involved with that. But how important was that for you to experience that program? And obviously, I think there was a few opportunities to go out then and do some tournament work over there as well. But was that really something that was able to then cement your desire to say, yeah, I want to be in this job and this career?
Yeah, like 100%. Like I got the opportunity to go there, and obviously the Ohio State, a lot of guys have done it now. And for me, it was taking me from a very small golf course, which I was obviously very proud to work at, and gave me some good background for today in terms of really, we're two greenkeepers, no mechanics, so we're doing all that stuff ourselves and looking after 18 holes. Obviously, it wasn't a top 100 or anything like that, but it was a good start in life. And then to progress to go to America, and it really opened my eyes to working on big teams with really well designed golf courses and managing and all that. So it really probably started my real passion. I love working tournament golf. That's what gives me my buzz. And then that's what I've kind of done ever since with, I was at the Hills for a while as they had the New Zealand Opens there, and I did three of those there, and as a foreman or 3IC, and, that continued to kick on. And then, that's probably working in America in those places is really kind of, I guess, guided my path where I want it to be today.
Yeah, that's great. And you've now established yourself, I suppose, in the Middle East, through Doha and obviously now in Abu Dhabi. How was the transition for you in the early days, going from that New Zealand cool season environment across to what can be quite a harsh environment in the Middle East?
Yeah, working in the heat's pretty tough, and the humidity, it's a lot hotter than Invercargill, New Zealand, that's for sure. But I was lucky. I worked under all my guys I worked under, Superintendents Dave, Robin, all these are really been top guys. And I guess, I'm one of those guys, I don't learn out of a book. I'm more of a hands-on sort of learn as I go sort of a guy. So, working in Doha and being fostered by a guy like Dave Castillo, Robin Dewson's been great. The biggest challenges out here, it obviously is the heat and stuff, but every golf course in the world has their own unique challenges. So we're no different and no more challenged than, say, somewhere in the UK or New Zealand. It's just different challenges. But I guess one of the big things out here, we're working on big multicultural crews with, guys that aren't speaking English as their first language or not speaking English at all. So trying to communicate and get things done can be a challenge at times. We're lucky. Here in Abu Dhabi, we're lucky we've got we've got a really good team of guys that generally do speak okay English, but still things go wrong when the communication barriers hit. Day to day, working in the dusty sandpit here is I love it, but it's also a challenge. Through summer when we're actually doing most of our tough work, getting the courses ready for our busy play season. And 45 to 50 degrees and it's 85% humidity is not easy. Managing the staff and the grasses through that is tough. We all have our unique challenges and everything like that. But I guess getting adjusted to a new culture, obviously living in the society we are, we're, I guess, privileged and guests here to be in this country. And but we've also got to remember where we are, and they have like many unique restrictions, I guess, or beliefs that are different from back home. But that's fine. Everyone is pretty good, and obviously Abu Dhabi, and that's really changed in the last few years to become a really multicultural country, which is great. And but yeah, like I've got a great teams around me that make me look good, and generally, and we just kind of do our thing like anywhere else.
Absolutely. I suppose I got to see a bit of that communication challenge, but opportunity, I suppose, as well when I was over for the event. And but the great thing is, they all seem to feed off, your passion, your assistant Jack and others in there as well, your passion for it. And I suppose it allows them to go out and get the job, learn some skills as well. But it was a real team environment I saw that you had over there, even though there are those language challenges and also knowledge, skill gaps, I suppose, amongst the team.
Yeah, I think one of the cool things about the tournament in particular, obviously you're here, is when we have all the international volunteers and how the guys on my team take to them. You've got, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Africa, Philippines, that my guys get a real buzz out of having international volunteers, and we had a really awesome crew of volunteers again this year, and they all buy into it, I guess, and they all see it. I guess the greenkeepers here see it that week as a chance to really showcase what they do. We don't generally get a lot of recognition or things for what we do, but it's actually nice during the tournament to obviously we did a really good job this year and everyone was quite happy, but for people to talk about it, and that feeds back to our greenkeepers who are really, really proud of Yaz Links in particular, or Sadiat as well. But the guys. My guys are really good. It's just once we get them taught and showing how to do it, they will do it the same every day, no matter what. It's I guess when you throw a curveball at them or something different, that's when you got to remember you got to be patient with these guys and where I could probably say to an Australian or a Kiwi, hey, just go do that and that. So you really got to show and explain and point and do different things, to get the message across. So. One thing you've always got to remember, there's so many different cultures on our team, and whether it's religious beliefs, interests. You've got Indians and Sri Lankans who love their cricket and football, and you've got the Filipinos who love their basketball and other bits and pieces. So everyone's different. So and I'm no different than anyone else. I'm just another body here who's different in a different way because I'm from New Zealand. So we have like great guys and great teams. We have a lot of fun. And I'm lucky that we do have teams that do such a good job that obviously allow me to do a video with you, I guess. But
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's some of the comments on TV, saying how good the golf course was and saying these greenkeepers are really good is great. So and it's good to feed that back to the guys.
Absolutely. Well, you've got 3 courses or 3 facilities. I won't say just 3 courses because there's multiple holes and different configurations across what you do. How do you then, sometimes it's hard enough to manage one facility, let alone 3. How do you go about your week to look and making sure you're across everything that's going on around the facilities? Yeah,
so all the 3 properties are on different sites, so they're all probably 15 to 20 minutes apart from each other. I'm lucky again, like I've got 3 really good, amazing assistants that are actually more like superintendents. So their title probably doesn't give them the credit that they deserve, unfortunately. We'll blame HR for that one, but and we've also got a great equipment manager as well. So look, I heavily rely on them to run the golf courses day to day. I obviously have plenty of input and all that, and they will run and do what my programs sort of state, but they're really managing that day to day, week to week, that sort of stuff. In terms of my own personal, how I move around, a lot of it's dictated by meetings, projects, tournament time. Right now I've got an assistant away, so I've been based at Sadiat pretty much the whole week. So, and then, a lot of it's dictated. It's not like a set schedule or anything like that. So, while I'm definitely a greenkeeper through and through, so I definitely try and keep my hands and my feet on the ground on the golf course so I know what's going on. So I know a typical day for me would be sort of in at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, and I usually do my round and drive around, and every week obviously can't go everywhere, but at least once a week at each club just to catch up with the assistants and spend time with them and make sure we're all on the same page and know what's going on. But like I said, lucky I've got such good assistants that do manage it all the day to day and are not scared to reach out or communicate if there's not something not right or they're not sure of. But really, like leading into tournament is sort of I'm really just based at Yaz Links, bar the odd trip across to the other clubs just to do something or to check on something. Right now we have the back nine closed at Saturday out for a full redo, so that's taking a lot of time chasing contractors and making sure they're on top of everything with the build and making sure they're getting that right. But yeah, my days and weeks change everything. So this week I'm really based at Saturday, but next week I'll be moving around again when James, my assistant, gets back. So yeah, and then if we're doing some special work or something, of course I'm going to be there. Summertime renovations, I base myself at each club for when we do our big closures and do our tough work through summer. I mean, at the end of the day, I've got to take responsibility. I'm the guy who's in charge. So if things go wrong or are not being done, I've got to make sure I'm accountable. So I like to be on site a lot and being on top of those special things that we do. So at the end of the day, if something goes wrong, the only people they can point the finger at is me, not anyone else. So at the end of the day, I guess probably something that going from an assistant to a superintendent, you soon realise the superintendent takes all the hits that the assistant don't even know about. And, my job really now is to make sure the teams can do their job without any interference, really. So, my back's got a lot tougher since this 2.5 years I've been involved in my new role. But, I obviously make plenty of mistakes myself and learn. But, it's probably something I got from Clint, my old boss, was, I knew the agronomic stuff not too bad, and obviously we're always learning, but I wasn't very good at probably managing up or, sometimes we wear the old emotions on the chest for everyone to see when, sometimes you just got to, you got to play the game, as they say, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is a challenge. It is something that is in that golf club environment, let alone where you have a committee or you've got an ownership structure. It is about that, I suppose, managing up, but also the education and pushing that up towards senior management and others to understand why you need something or why you're doing something a certain way. And if you can get those skills as a superintendent, then that certainly makes the job slightly easier. But I think it's a key thing for everyone to think about. How do we manage up or educate up to give a greater understanding of what we're doing on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, look, I'm seeing it a lot at the moment in terms of this project on Saturday. Not the contractors, but there's obviously an independent party that's also overseeing them as well, that sort of I communicate to them and then they communicate to the contractor. But, they don't get what the difference with grass types or greens or tees or whatever any surface is. They just as long as it's green, it's okay, which is not okay, right? So that's probably my biggest stress at the moment in terms of making sure this project's done right so we don't have major problems down the line where we end up having to fix it or it's going to be hard to manage. So the new design's awesome. I think it's going to be great when it's finished, but, trying to get the stuff under the ground done right is the key at the moment.
So let's touch on that. So it's obviously a major renovation you're doing on that back nine. How did it all come about? Obviously then, as you touched on, you're managing contractors and others through that process. But just tell us a little bit about the renovation that you've got going there at the moment.
Yeah, so Saturday Beach Golf Club is a Gary Player signature design. So he actually designed this himself, and he actually spent a lot of time here, believe it or not, during the construction. It's actually one of his, I guess, fondest golf courses. And I guess that's why we used to host before COVID is Gary Player Invitational every year, where he would come and bring a heap of tour players and whatnot and raise funds for his charities. But so the project on the back nine came about because there's an empty plot between some of the holes that has been designated as a housing development, and unfortunately housing development rules, and we're having to make adjustments to multiple holes and losing a hole to accommodate this housing development. While we're losing a hole, they're rebuilding in another place, so they've had to reconfigure holes, build new tees, 2 new greens, and then a whole new hole and fit it in, and so it's not as easy as a normal construction in terms of an empty plot's probably quite easy to start on. This is, connecting new holes and irrigation to old and trying to reconfigure it that way. Ideally it would be great to redo the whole golf course and change to, some newer grass types and whatnot, but this is the cards we've been down. We've just got to manage it moving forward. So one of the key things for me from day one has been making sure everything's done consistently the same as the original build. Grass types, greens construction, even irrigation, everything has been key, because, it'd be great to go change a couple of greens to some new grass, but it doesn't make any points when we've got, so they end up being 16 others of mini verde. So, so everything's just trying to be really consistent with the original course and get through that. Like just monitoring these contractors that like to try and cut corners that are, I guess, under time penalties and whatnot, and irrigation, all that stuff, getting that exactly dialed in as it should be. It's a really big property, about 140 hectares. Everything's irrigated. It's about 4,500 sprinkler heads on property.
Wow.
Yep. So we have an own team that manages those irrigation on a daily basis, 5 guys. Even that's not really enough, but we're putting out in summer large amounts of water, up to sort of 9,000 cubes a day, depending, probably at its peak, but across the property. But nothing in the Middle East grows without water. So
absolutely,
I guess we're working on a thing that generally wouldn't grow here. It's not natural to have grass here, but in turn we've actually created a man-made ecosystem. So it's actually a really special property when it comes to bird life, and that we're kind of right on a migration path route. So we're sort of 194 species of birds that have been recorded here so far. A couple of that were quite rare or hadn't been seen in about 10 years. So that was pretty cool to be involved with that.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, to the point, actually, Gary Player, his brother was a big bird watching guy. So he even called the reception one day when he found out about it, and ended up speaking not to me, but to one of the general manager at the time, I think, and telling him all about how amazing it was and all that sort of stuff. So we're another one that's an Autobahn certified wildlife sanctuary here. So we've done all that stuff, and we continue to push that. And Saturday's got live gazelle, like almost like deer but smaller, that roam the golf course freely. They're completely wild. We don't feed them or do anything with them. Back to the project, I guess that's ongoing, and hopefully later this year. And when we get the new rollers from you, it'll be open and you'll be able to have a look at it if you call in for a visit. But
absolutely.
All 3 golf courses we manage here feed off each other, so we share a lot of resources between the 3, whether it's staff, equipment. We move a lot around. If it's tournament time at Saturday or Yaz Links, we move a lot of staff from the other clubs in to help out, or vice versa, depending on what's going on. But it's an exciting place to work. There's always something new or something interesting to keep the juices flowing. So and that's probably one reason I've been here so long, where I've had a lot of new challenges or career progression that has kept me here, whether it's going from an assistant to the Cluster Director of Agronomy, or getting HSBC or Challenge Tour, or now this project. So even HSBC's changed. We used to be in January, and now it's in November. So that last year was a new challenge coming out of summer, and it was tough, but it was a good challenge to I don't get bored here, which is probably the good thing, or I don't get stale as a superintendent and need to move somewhere else to keep things going. Everything kind of keeps progressing, and it it's always interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I suppose we'll move on to a bit of the tournament prep now. And you touched on this just there before, that the Middle East is obviously not a natural place to grow grass, but you're creating an ecosystem there. And I was even watching a bit of the Hero from Dubai on the European tour this morning. They were talking about the bird life there as well, and almost creating these ecosystems through the Middle East with the grasses and conservation areas, bird life, and even other things that are becoming more prevalent there as a stop-off, let alone used to be just tourists. Now it's bird life as well. But, you've moved a tournament from a traditional time of year into a non-traditional, I suppose, time, or it's just a move. How do you then go, what's your step or process then in you're probably then starting to look at, getting the team geared up in August, I suppose, is it, for a November start? So, but that's, quite a warm time of the year. So how do you go in transitioning a tournament from one time of year to another, and then getting a new pathway of preparation in play?
Yeah, I mean, interesting one. So yeah, January was a lot easier for us. I mean, growth and everything's not as much. It's a lot cooler, so it's a lot easier on the start, especially when you really ramp up doing some long hours. But um, when they changed the dates, it gave us 18 months to prepare and start to think about it. So 2023 November, when we knew we were changing to the 2024 November, I actually did some simulations at the time just to see where we were going to be at. You know, one, just visually seeing where we're at that time of year coming out of our summer renovations. We usually do a 12-day closure in August where we tear the place apart and pretty good and do all our sort of, scarifying and or aggressive scarifying and aeration and that. So when November come around in 2023, they were trying to make sure the golf course in general was going to be good anyway, but just we pushed it a bit further just to see what would happen, see where we would be at, whether our cutting heights and that were close to what I thought would be tournament time in that 2023, even though we didn't have a tournament, which then gave me a good idea moving into the following year, where we needed to be at and what we needed to do. So it definitely helped, I guess, me mentally coming out of the 2024 summer and sort of that. So we did our last big cultural renovations start of August, which then gave us sort of 10 weeks to obviously get that recovered. And straight after that renovations, that's when we kind of started our, a tournament preparation. So 10 weeks out. I did make a mistake. I bought one of these countdown clocks for the agronomy office, which I thought was a great idea after I volunteered at East Lake for the Tour Championship a few years ago. I put it up and it was, I don't know, 70 or 60 days to go. And I'm, oh my God, we're so far behind. So it's probably the worst thing I could have done. But, myself, the team, Jack, worked incredibly hard and to bring that golf course up to what was probably the best condition time we've had in the three that we've done. A lot of people doubted whether we could get it as good at that time of year. And, it was people said it, which is, I guess, just motivated us a bit more, especially Jack. I remember someone said that to him, and that got him buzzing, which was pretty cool. But look, it was the most successful tournament we've had to date for sure. And then again, we learned new things for this year's tournament. Sorry, and we've already started doing some stuff to, a couple of drainage projects have already been done that we struggled coming out of summer because October, November, we're still putting a lot of water out. So, yeah, as links being links, of course, we try and get it playing as linksy as possible most of the year round. Which, I mean, you've seen it at tournament time. I mean, the fairways are stimping at about 9.5, 10 feet. So,
absolutely,
with the ability with the Platinum Paspalum to cut it incredibly short and it doesn't harm it, it actually enhances it. What I've found with it, the shorter we cut it, the less water it uses, the firmer, the tighter it gets. And while it's really green and not traditionally brown like a links course in Scotland, the surfaces still play very similar to something that's burnt out in Scotland, but it's just green. So we got great feedback, as you know, and hopefully this year, we can enhance it even further and further improve the whole property from what it was last year. So,
when you've got one of the world's best golfers, Rory McIlroy, asking you to come and see him to tell you how good the course is, you're doing the right thing. So that's a real accolade for you and the team. But that Platinum Paspalum that you use, and it is like carpet. It is just amazing the height of cut that you obviously can get on the greens, fairways, and tees. But as you're touching on there, the grass was healthy. It's thriving effectively during that week, but obviously for all the year. So it's, obviously, once again, it comes down to making sure you've got the right grass in the right location and obviously have the right management practices across it for it to not just survive in that harsh environment, but actually thrive.
Yeah, look, I mean, one of the big challenges that I thought we were going to have coming out of summer was controlling growth. We struggle to control growth with traditional methods like, PGRs and that sort of stuff. The Paspalum here doesn't seem to uptake it as well as, say, a Bermuda grass or a bent grass or whatever. But, come tournament time, we had it and we could manage the growth. But I mean, we were still growing when you were there for tournament week. It was, which is a good problem to have, especially when you're cutting the greens, 4, 5, 6 times a day and rolling the crap out of them on the Tru-Turf rollers. But yeah, look, I mean, I couldn't ask for more of the team this year. They delivered it. What was a pretty special place, and yeah, awesome to get recognition from Rory and the media, from his press conference to being invited to go meet him one-on-one because he wanted to say thank you, which I imagine he doesn't do that every week. But it was awesome, and then the feedback from other players and the commentators on TV. It only enhances Yaz links and on the international stage, and we've seen it since the tournament. The international visitors flocking in has been super busy. We had a record month of golf in December, which was amazing, and which only helps me, I guess, because more money means more new machines and
absolutely
and rollers and whatever else that we need. But the grass, the Platinum Paspalum, is a special grass, and while I'm sure it won't work everywhere, but it's really, for me, is the best grass here in my area, I would say. Like I said, the ability to cut it super short and get it playing really tight and really runny. Our greens are at 1.2 mil, and that's not to get speed or anything. It's just that they grow better, they play better, they use less water at the lower height of cuts, which is completely opposite of what traditional, I guess, learnings are, or traditional grasses are. But it's a great grass, and I have to admit it's made my job a lot easier having, I guess, if you've got the right grass,
that's right,
on the property, it makes it easier. And Yazlinks is only one grass, wall to wall, so greens, fairways, tees, surrounds, all the same. So it's easy to make adjustments, or it's not as labour intensive having to edge greens or any of that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's the best grass for what I need here on the golf course at Yazlinks.
Yeah. You touched on it as well. We've got a couple of new RE50 rollers coming for Sodat Beach on the water at the moment. But how does rolling play a part in your turf management practices?
Well, I'll touch on first the electric side of things, because Sadat in particular and Yaz Acres already has the electric rollers and has for, I think, 2-3 years now. So we have real pressure from residential developments around the properties. They give me a lot of stick about noise and everything. So we're now having to move into that electric direction. Obviously, we're just starting slowly, I guess, because our equipment fleet's Sadat in particular, is quite old. So we're starting to upgrade that now with electric equipment. But the challenges we have is these residential developments, and golf wants an early tee time, especially in summer, but we can't prepare, for example, at Saturday at the second hole until 6:30, first tee time 6 o'clock. So we need to find ways where we can prepare these areas and a lot quieter, and we can get in there and have the golf course prepared before play, not just for play, but also from the health and safety point of view. From our guys, you know what golfers are like. They don't like to give way or really care. So yeah, we're going to move in that direction with a lot of equipment now, starting with rollers and mowers and stuff. So, look, I mean, we've got between all the properties, I think it's 2, 4, 10 Tru-Turf rollers, whether they're electric or petrol. Obviously, incredibly important from day to day to tournament time. We'll use the rolling during our standard weeks just to give the greens a break from the intensive cutting and that sort of stuff, from smoothing things out after we do our monthly tining and all that sort of stuff. Pretty standard stuff that everyone does. You've seen the rollers at tournament time. We had them out there with the volunteers on them. There's 4 of them buzzing around. As you know, I like to play around with them a little bit too and throw a bit of extra weight on them. It's not like having a Kiwi or an Aussie who weighs 100 kilos on them. We've got guys from Asia and that weigh about 50 kilos. So not enough minced pies over here. So I like to throw about 40 kilos of extra weight on them just for tournament time. I don't do it any other time. But from tournament time to day to day, it's we use it for different methods, from giving the greens a break from the daily cutting, or give them a rest, to using them for agricultural practices, or using them to, I wouldn't say gain speed, but to gain firmness. If I revert back to tournament time, it's not a big emphasis on speed as such. It's more firmness. That's what challenges these pros these days.
Yep.
Having 13 feet and soft is not going to challenge these guys. Having them 10 feet and bouncy is going to challenge them. So that's one of the directives from the tour. I mean, anyone can get quick greens for a day. It's the challenge is holding a speed or getting a target speed that they've requested. So, we use them for a lot of various different things from day to day, depending on what we're trying to achieve on that particular day.
Yeah, and it was really interesting watching the interactions, I suppose, between you and Eugene from the tour agronomist during the tournament. As you say, it's not all about speed. It's about getting the firm, but also a smooth and true, aspect of what you're wanting to achieve. So people know hitting it on this line, it's going to go in that hold its direction and keep its trueness there. But that balance between, cut, roll, double roll, freaky, all those other sort of things that you're looking and playing around with to make sure you've got that consistent surface from green to green across the course.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've done a lot of tournaments, whether it's as a superintendent, assistant, or even just as a greenkeeper now, and you obviously pick up different things. Tournament time, for example, you've seen us rolling in the evenings before cut, in case there's anything that's spiked up or anything we don't want to scalp. I've made that mistake before at Doha one year where I was just young, I guess, so didn't quite get it right. But you learn from your mistakes and that. But we're using the rollers for that sort of stuff during tournament as well. And then, bouncing things off Eugene. And then he's my bounce between him and the tournament director, who might want something different, or a lot of times you've got to calm the tournament director down a little bit in case if he gets a bit excited sometimes. But Eugene's great and a great ally and friend on site. And big thing is he keeps me calm during the lead into tournament or the week of. Even the month out, he came out for a visit a month out, and here's me kind of like, I'm not very happy where we're at. And he's like, no, it's pretty good already. So you just got to, just a couple of tweaks here or there. And he's there a lot of times just to calm, I guess, my nerves and my emotions a bit, I guess. So, again, we use the rollers a lot during tournament, and we had some of the volunteers on the rollers. Francisca from Switzerland was probably the best, and she's actually a pretty special greenkeeper, I think, and our superintendent in Switzerland. So she was probably the best of the four guys of rolling. So, it was great to be able to borrow the roller that you guys loaned us through our end and irrigation, and that support's great as well. And then more recently, nice to be able to get some funds to buy a couple of electric rollers for Sadiat, which is going to help us a lot as well.
Yeah, no, it's great. We appreciate the support, and it's great to be able to do these things and spend some time with you during the tournament as well. Well, I've taken up a lot of your time. Just one thing to finish. You go back to that early days of two greenkeepers back in New Zealand as a 17-year-old, and fast forward a few years. Would there be something that we do have a lot of apprentice greenkeepers and everything that watch this series as well to learn from the best in the business. Would it be something that you would want to tell yourself going back to a 17-year-old if you had the opportunity to say about the direction and challenges or opportunities, I suppose, within the turf industry?
I think one thing is hard work pays off. If you really want to, and patience. If you really want to get ahead in this industry and become a top superintendent anywhere in the world, is one. Those little things. I'm not the smartest cookie in the shed by any means, so I was one of those guys that kind of hung around after work or did extra things and put my hand up to stay late or whatever, or try to get involved and stuff to learn. So, if I was to look back and if I was to say, patience is probably one of the big things. I mean, it's taken me 20 years to get where I am now. I think I see a lot of young guys now that think, or either give up the industry too early when they've just got to do those years and do that graft to get to where you are today. You don't learn out of a book. Yeah, you get a certificate, which is great at the end of your apprenticeship or study, but you've really got to then put the time in and get your hands dirty for a number of years to work your way up the ranks. And I think a lot of the best supers around the world have done that, whether they've started as, the bottom, raking bunkers, mowing greens and that, and then they progress into sort of spray tech roles, irrigation tech roles, and then then you get your assistant role and that sort of stuff. I think every part of it prepares you as you go along, and also superintendents. I've kind of got this thing. I've always had good superintendents I've worked for, but I take a bit from each one, and hopefully that makes me an even better superintendent. Every guy, I can think of guys that are really good on the machinery and all that, and then I've got guys that have been really good with managing up, and that's helped me, and I've sort of taken a bit from each guy. But I think if you put the yards in, you'll get rewards, whether it's on your own course working, to going and volunteering and putting yourself out there in that way, to going to Ohio State. I mean, that was huge for me. That really helped me a lot. One, making contacts and networking, to then getting that eye opener and seeing a higher standard of presentation and what is actually really required on really top golf courses. I've done a lot of volunteering, a lot of working, here, there, and getting to go to, again, I was lucky. I've had superintendents that would take me to various turf shows or conferences. So I've had that, lucky to have that exposure at those events. But then again, I've also paid my own way I think I went to a Melbourne conference one year. I paid my own way just to be there for the week. That sort of stuff helps. Going to GSA, GIS if you get the chance, and then signing up to the courses, even if it costs you your own money. Again, I've done that before. I've paid for courses out of money. You get so much out of it, and then the networking, and it's always nice having a beer after 5 o'clock too at those sorts of things. And you seem to learn a lot, or Coke. I should be politically correct, I guess, but
you'll be fine.
Don't tell my boss at the show I'll be having a beer. But no, look, I mean, trying to get out there, exposing yourself. Sometimes going to help to dig a hole somewhere. I think it all adds up, and trying to be patient. You're not going to be. Well, I'm not going to say you can't be, but it takes time to build yourself up to be. If someone wants to be the superintendent at Royal Melbourne. I've met Richard before. I know it didn't come overnight. He's grafted a lot for many years to get there. So you're not just going to become a superintendent at 22 on a top course. Well, not saying you can't, but I think by doing the yards and taking the time, it will step you up better when you are ready to be a superintendent. If I look back at myself, my first superintendent role, I probably wasn't ready. And while I didn't do anything wrong, the golf course was good and all that sort of stuff. But when I got my role now, that's when I probably felt comfortable and ready, and my ability to either manage up, manage down, and still look after the grass. That's probably rambled on a bit there, but
it's great advice. And the industry, is such a great networking environment. And as you touched on it, and I'm sure if anybody would like to take that advice about volunteering, reach out to Corey for the 2025 Abu Dhabi Championship at Yas Links. You'll have a great time, but also just the ability to sit down at the end of the day and talk with greenkeepers from around the world on what they do and how they do things. It's that knowledge sharing is, I just think, such a wonderful thing. We talked about on the podcast previously about the knowledge sharing, the ability to gain knowledge from others, and that's a really great attribute of this side of the industry.
Yeah, look, I mean, we had a great volunteer program the last 3 years, but this year again, particularly, we had 21 international volunteers from all over, from Switzerland, Wentworth, Scotland, New Zealand, everywhere. It was awesome. So we had a really good bunch of guys that came, and girls, came that really enjoyed working with our team, and I know my team love it. So yeah, if anyone wants to come out this year and volunteer, I'm more than happy to accommodate and look after everyone. And we did some pretty cool things. Played golf at our other clubs between shifts, and we enjoyed a couple of social evenings, and managed to have a good Sunday night as well, which was unfortunately you missed it, Nick, but you'll have to try and
I will
stay this year. But before you go, I have to say actually Nick was actually running one of the days during the tournament. I got pretty sick, so Nick had to drive me out and carry my stimp and do all that sort of stuff for me one morning, but we both survived, luckily.
We did. It was very good to be your chauffeur. I tell you what, it was a great insight into what goes on. And for those that haven't been involved in the tournament, it is a serious time. Like, it was 4 a.m. you guys are on deck to do the morning shift. You've got people there during the day just in case things go wrong again. But at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, there you're back on for another 4 to 5 hours to get it prepped and ready to go and clean up what has been those days' activities. So. And that's the thing about, I suppose, that little excitement, whether it's from the tour side or the pro side, out there getting the courses, playing to then the agronomy team that's there in the dark at the start of the day and at the end of the day to make sure that the spotlight, which is the golf course, shines and looks great for the tournament.
Yeah, look, I mean, the golf course was the highlight. That wasn't the structures, it wasn't the F&B, it wasn't anything like that. So and then luckily that everyone thanked the greenkeepers, which was cool. And not sometimes it comes to me, but it was actually a lot of appreciation for the whole team, which was really good. And it was really, really awesome for Yaz Links and everyone involved.
Yeah, well, that's great. Well, Corey, taking a lot of time, as I said, I really appreciate the opportunity to have a chat to you today. From a Tru-Turf perspective, we thank your support, but we look forward to catching up in a couple of weeks at GIS. So Corey's going to be over in San Diego, I believe. So we'll look forward to catching up in person there. But once again, thanks for your time today. It's greatly appreciated. Yeah,
anytime, mate. And if anyone else wants to reach out or see us catch up at GIS, I'm around. And if anyone wants to volunteer, please reach out. We'll happily host anyone.
Good on you. Thanks, Corey.
Cheers, mate. See ya.